Now, it may be said that pathology is a study in all things human, save for the soul, of course. But it is in that particular branch of pathology known as forensics that we will delve into what it means to be inhuman. You will see the perversion and the corruption of the flesh by all means unnatural, by violence, by toxin, by madness. And then we will work backwards, always back to that original pristine design to determine the offending cause of death.
Pathology is just the study of disease processes. It's not necessarily always associated with death. If you go to the dermatologist and they take a mole off, if you go to a doctor and they biopsy your liver, if you go to a cancer specialist and they biopsy tumor, all of that goes to a pathologist who examines it to tell you what it is or what it's not. It's a study of disease.
So, impress me.
You killed him.
Maybe. The point is, how?
Forensic pathology is a subspecialty of that, and that's what our doctors do. And it primarily focuses on deaths related to trauma, homicides, suicides, traffic accidents, those kinds of things. That's our specialty. Our office has 24 pathologists assigned to it. I'm what they call a deputy coroner investigator. I oversee the investigations unit. There's approximately 38 coroner investigators, and it's the coroner investigator who responds to the scene of death and conducts a death investigation. The coroner investigator is the eyes and the ears of the pathologist.
All right, let's discuss the trauma on the left side of the head and the inflammation of the meninges.
It's a domino effect from trauma to gunshot wound.
I don't think so. You wouldn't find inflammation after a fatal wound like this. The subject was obviously struck in the head on the left side with a bat, or a kick, or one hell of a hard punch. But there's a left epidural hematoma with conjugal injury to the right temporal lobe from the shifting in the skull. Now, this could have happened in the original confrontation.
Despite what some people see on TV, we don't send pathologists, physicians, to the scenes of death 100% of the time. There's a small percentage of the time where we do send pathologists to the scene. If it's an extremely interesting case, high profile, or they're in training, they will go to the scene as part of our team, but it's generally our investigators, and that's the part of the office that I represent. We do all of our own photo and x-ray. This is our x-ray studio here, our homicide photo studio down here, where we do all of our photography to get the bodies ready for examination. So however we get a body from the scene of a death, if a person's fully clothed, they come into this room here where they're photographed fully clothed. Then they're undressed, washed down. The clothing will be hung up in one of these racks here to dry, and after it's dried, each piece of clothing will be wrapped individually, and then it'll be wrapped in one big package, and it's turned over to the law enforcement agency as their evidence. I started in my life wanting to be a police officer, and after the military, I decided I didn't want to be a street cop anymore because I didn't like wrestling people. I got into what I call white-collar law enforcement, and it just gradually evolved into finding out about the coroner's office, learning they had investigators, and figuring out that that's in fact what I wanted to do, because that was a part of the criminal justice system that fascinated me, and it's been something I've been now for 20 years. You're not going to see things done on the scale that we do it in Los Angeles County. We just have so much responsibility, and the numbers dwarf other jurisdictions. I mean, New York is a much larger coroner's office, but we do everything under one roof. We're a single location, so brought in Saturday,
Busy.
Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. It's a lot of activity. It's a lot of people doing a lot of things, working very hard to do the job that we need to do and get the folks through our facility and get them back to their families as soon as we can. It does take some special people to do the job. It's not a job that everybody can do, and unfortunately, sometimes the interest in forensics that is now evident in television and what have you is telling some people that that's what they think they should want to do, but they don't understand the full gamut of what the job entails, and that includes everything from the fact that it smells bad to you're often working with people at the worst possible times in their life. They've lost a loved one. So it does take a special person who can, work with some of the nastiest things in the world you can think of that can happen to a human being, and then deal with the survivors, the loved ones, and be compassionate and be helpful and help them through a very difficult time in their life. Like I said, in our office, in the course of any day, 7 days a week, there's just so many interesting things to see. It's never the same place, the same thing. There's always something interesting, and the great thing about our office, doesn't make any difference whether it's a doctor or a forensic technician or a coroner investigator or a forensic attendant. If they've got a case that's got something interesting going on, they'll always pull you aside and say, oh, come look at this, and explain what it is they've got, what it is they've uncovered, or something unusual that they found. And it's that fascination with what we do that continues, because some of the people have worked for our department for 20, 25, 30 years, and that fascination is still to me it's like a 10-year-old kid at Christmas sometimes for some of these folks. And that's the way the actors were when they were down there. It's like somebody did something, and some people pulled out some nasty decomposed bodies, which are pretty potent smelling. They didn't miss a beat. When you take them by the body and you point out certain things after death, they're naturally occurring that people never get to see, but from a coroner's perspective, they're interesting. They tell stories about what happened to this particular person, about their time interval since death and stuff like that. Everybody was fascinated. Nobody ran from the floor. Nobody needed to take a break. I mean, they were all right there in the thick of it, asking questions and learning.